Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. As you know already, guys, I always say it is a place where all future millionaires come to get inspired. Today, I'm doing a special um, edition of this video, which I'm trying to celebrate the Black History Month. This year mark a special history in the Black community, where we've just seen the passing of the Queen. We're talking about people moving from an empire to building a commonwealth of equals. And we're trying to look back into how Black people, especially from the days of slavery, how they were emancipated out of the continent, where they are today, and what struggles they passed through to get to where they are. If you've seen us for the very first time, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe and also follow me on TikTok and Facebook. I remain with the same name, Terry Foch, your humble boy from the roots. Our theme of today is celebrating Black History Month with the theme wellness and mental health. A lot of people struggle with mental health problems in the Black community. Whether or not they are aware is one thing, but we are here to talk and communicate and also to share our experiences to one another. One thing that I know for sure is that lots of people would relate to exactly what I'll be saying tonight. And as I always say, this is very interactive. I always invite all viewers to drop a comment or try to engage in the communication in the comment section, and also to share their own experiences. I just want to start by appreciating every Black individual in our community, every Black individual in the diaspora who is striving, working hard on day-to-day basis to sustain their family. I must applaud you. I must also say this is a very big challenge that we have to take, moving away from our own continent or moving away from our own country, migrating to different country, starting life all over, having children, building a family, trying to be as hardworking as we can, and equally trying to support the family that we've left back at home. Again, I applaud our effort for all that we are doing. As I said, it's Black History Month, and we are going to celebrate this under the theme wellness and mental health. Join me in the comment section and contribute as much as you can, and this will be truly appreciated. Black History Month. What's Black History Month? And what can you say you know about the Black History Month? It is an annual observance, or it was originated in the United States, also known as the African Americans History Month. It's received official recognition from government in the United States, Canada, and recently some other European countries, including the United Kingdom, where I am, also celebrate the Black History Month. The celebration has gone right back in time, but this has been celebrated year after year by many Africans in the diaspora. In the United States, the Black History Month is normally celebrated in February, and I think it's also February in Canada, but it's celebrated in October here in the United Kingdom, and it normally take the entire month from the 1st to the 31st of October. If we have our own Black families that go out to work here in the UK, they will tell you from experience, or they can share their thought in the comment section, that this is a month where they talk about the BAM community, the BMME community, or the Black and other ethnic minority communities, and how they fit into the system or fit into their teams. This is always celebrated by organization. It's been celebrated year after year by management, and every institution or every uh, uh, government or political organization across the country try to come together to recognize the hard work of all the Blacks who have done great things here in the diaspora, especially from fighting back the discrepancy or the disparity or the discrimination that has existed for decades and decades, until when Blacks start fighting for their own equal human right in the diaspora. As we said, many of the individuals, they didn't leave the continent by choice. Some were looted, some left in chains, they were enslaved, and they grew up in plantations. There came a time where they said we can only be emancipated, or our mental slavery, as we have sung and heard by Bob Marley before. They said you emancipate yourself from mental slavery, but they did all they could to emancipate themselves from the mental slavery that they were going through, the physical slavery they were going through, the migration slavery they went through, and they built a unique bond among themselves to fight for freedom, fight for equality, and fight for togetherness, and or trying to mix communities, which is exactly what we in turn are probably enjoying today. I'm not saying that all is as good as gold, but there's always a need for us to have this conversation and talk about how we can develop a better tomorrow or a better future for our children. Us here in the diaspora, which I'm referring to at this point, um, we have gone through, if I may be apolitical here, we have gone through a lot of differences at work. Either we've been misunderstood because of our own race, or we've been misunderstood because of our accent, we've been misunderstood um, because of our culture, we've misunderstood. There's a general culture, for example, at work, where they say we must not warm smelling food. So what someone is not familiar with might not be a norm to them, but we keep fighting this acceptance to say our own cuisines or our beautiful, lovely food, which have been cooked by ourselves, our wives, and our mothers, and the rest, must also be accepted as at work, as part of a norm. This is something that we fight about day in, day out, to ensure that everyone within our community feel comfortable going to work, eating exactly what they want to eat. And we're going to touch about confidence um, at some point. Oh, hello there. A big shout out uh, to Stella. Thank you for clicking in and saying hello. Hi. Hope you're doing great. The theme of today is awareness and mental health, and we are celebrating the Black History Month for all those who are just joining in now. And I'm happy for everyone to contribute and share their experiences on what life is or how they perceive Blackness within their workplace. From our theme, I'm going to talk more on what mental health wellness is. Mental health wellness is something that most people would relate to. There are a lot of work. There is a lot of work that we all have to do to keep our own mental health uh, stable. So mental health wellness, in essence, is a key component in establishing and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Mental health wellness is just as important as physical and medical health. So it's important to learn strategies to maintain good mental health. Also, the ability to cope with stressors, our day to day, going in and out to work, and or maybe looking after family, uh, also trying to maintain a functional and effective social life. Working, learning, taking care of personal health and hygiene. A person that fits the definition of mental awareness has a positive sense of well-being and hope. Despite daily stressors, mental and our own challenges, overall mental health awareness depends on factors like self-acceptance, autonomy, quality, relationships, capacity for personal growth, and overall life satisfaction. So if you don't look at your surrounding and try to accept what is happening around you, you would find yourself in a very, very difficult position that you cannot cope, especially with your own mental wellness. Why is it important that we talk about mental wellness during the Black History Month? I suppose when people were being forced out of their homes, and or I know today I'll refer to ourselves, we will refer to ourselves as economy migrants. Yes, of course, we are economy migrants, but we have to also appreciate that. As I said before, there were people who were forced out of their homes, there were people who were sold into slavery. There were people who have been involved in modern slavery. There are people who they've come to the West from different walks of life or through different means. Either someone came by the desert, they've sold everything they had at home to get to where to this country or to any other Western country for greener pasture. But the most important thing that they have to think about is their mental wellness. You have to think about how people would have prepared themselves to go through the stresses of getting to this country in the first place. No matter how strong one might be, you would always have a down, and that downness is exactly what has to keep you strong, because if you don't motivate yourself when you are down, if you don't have that autonomy, accept that this is your position, this is your situation, you'll find it difficult to rise and or stand again. So it's important that we talk about mental health, mental awareness, health awareness. So mental health awareness, it's important we talk about part of personal balance, because it affects other areas of life such as physical awareness, emotional awareness, financial, spiritual life. For example, a person with good mental awareness who is suffering from physical illness has a higher rate of recovery and a smaller risk of that illness from becoming critical or fatal, and someone who has poor mental than someone who have poor mental awareness. This is because mental awareness provide people with the ability to cope with and work through stress, frustration, and even exhaustion. So these factors do not cause stress on the body, but the frustration of us going out on day to day can impact your mental awareness. Another example of mental awareness um, affect overall awareness. Without mental health awareness, there cannot be emotional awareness. Sounds mind strengthening, emotional, regular, and balance, which promotes positive and healthy relationships, along with strong performance skills that can promote financial stability. Lots of people have different ways that they take to maintain their own mental health awareness. If you have your own way that you cope, or any way you take to maintain your health or your mental awareness, please let us know in the comment section. Some people do a simple thing as maybe cooking even their favorite meal, going on a walk, making sure they do regular exercise and things like that, and they end up achieving their goal. So as I said, some steps that people take generally. So achieving and maintaining mental health awareness takes patience and dedication. It is a skill to learn how to maintain a good health, and it may be more challenging for some than others. So everyone's journey towards mental awareness is completely different depending on his or her needs, maybe their lifestyle, personal goals. Fortunately, there are mental health awareness tips that tends to work well for everyone who is working to improve their mental health or their mental health awareness. So some of these tips that has worked well to improve people's mental health awareness, which you can consider, or if you're doing already or are not doing, you can share as well, are things like maintaining a healthy diet, um, exercising regularly, keeping up with regular medical appointments. This is one of the keeping up with regular medical appointments is really down for most black, especially black men in our community. We really seek for help and or maybe go to hospital or use any other support that are out there for us. There are lots of support out there that we can seek, but we tend not to. And there are lots of reasons that I'm going to discuss as well why black men and or maybe most people from the black community do not seek for help with their own struggles. So apart from the medical appointment, you have things like practicing things like meditation, maintaining a positive and healthy relationship, taking breaks throughout the day, setting realistic goals and expectation for yourself. So all these things goes a long way, or there are steps you can take to improve your mental health awareness. If you feel you are struggling with mental health awareness, then it's beneficial to consider consulting with a mental health professional, which is something we're also going to talk about again, because most people from our own community do not really ask for help with their mental health problems because of other factors we will also look at. If you have an idea on any factors that prevent people from seeking help from it, for example, within our community, please share with us in the comment section. Even if it's only to learn mindfulness and wellness techniques with professional guidance or counseling can be beneficial for anyone with the right dedication and motivation to build mental health wellness to themselves. So the different types of mental awareness that we can look at, or for example, everyone is different, as I said before, and that means that each person will have needs to maintain awareness that are unique to their own particular lifestyle. It can sometimes be a challenge to find the right fit uh, for when it comes to maintaining mental wellness. But do not worry, everyone has something that promotes mental health wellness in their lives. If you are struggling with finding the right steps towards improving your mental health wellness, consider trying out some of the tips that we're going to discuss here today. But as I said, if anyone have any tips on how to improve or any example of mental health awareness that they know, that they can drop it in the comment section and elaborate, and or we can discuss it. So people can schedule time to put aside for mental breaks or during your work day. So as simple as taking a break when you are at work, pick up a fun hobby like a sport, craft, or social activity to do, or expand your mind with learning more about something that interests you. You know, some people can do reading, some go swimming, and people can do anything that actually interests them. Some go on a walk, or maybe hitting the gym. That's something that interests you, or playing with the kids, just probably cooking your favorite meal. That's something that interests you, and that helps with your mental awareness. Try practicing mindfulness, as I said before, meditation exercise like yoga. People could do Tai Chi, they could do anything, that is they feel that is beneficial for them. And strengthen your bond and you strengthen your bond and relationship with friends and family. That's also a very good support system that we all have, friends and family. Uh, Try expanding your social support network by making friends with similar interests and lifestyle experiences. So it's not just about um, making friends, but making friends with similar interests and lifetime uh, experiences. Because to be honest, you can have friends, you can have friends who have different interests to you, and you, as much as you think you have a social network, they might not be able to support you when you actually really need them. So going on, guys, we've talked about mental awareness, so we'll talk about how we can build our confidence. This is something that is also related to how we perceive ourselves, how we go out there as a black community. Um, with confidence, you are more attractive and likable, and you feel better than when you lack confidence. I must say, this is something that is good to teach our children. I know we're coming from a society where we say eye contact is disrespectful to adults and things like that. But what we also have to appreciate, we are now living in a society where not maintaining eye contact is seen as lacking confidence. So there's a conflict here. We're talking about our own children going to school and being told, maintain eye contact, maintain eye contact. That's what it takes to build their confidence. But when they come home, us within the Black community, we are then telling them it's not good for you to maintain or look at your parents in the eye. I'm talking and you're looking at me in the eye. So this is the kind of things that we tend to say to our children. I must check if this mic is on. Everyone can hear me. And if you can hear me clearly, please just put your thumbs up or you say hi, just so I know you can hear me, please. And every parent living in the diaspora, please use the Black History Month to educate, starting with yourself, educate your children, educate your surrounding, educate your own circle. Try to work hard to build everyone confidence around you, no matter what they are struggling with. Please tell them, inform them that yes, they can. This was the acronym that the Obama went with to become the US president. Anything that your child set their heart on, support them. Yes, they can. That's all we can say to the children. Keep pushing them, show them the right direction, support their dreams, ask them to work with their shoulder high up. I must speak for myself here. I will say to you, few years back, I might not be able to hold a microphone and say hello in front of audience, but across the years, I have to continually, gradually learning and building the confidence to do so. I've been in different walks of life, different circles, different environment where I will be saying to people, can you speak up for yourself? Can you speak up for someone? Can you speak up for everyone? This is what Black History Month is about, speaking up. If you see someone who is struggling coming from the black and or ethnic minority group, and they are struggling with one thing or another, please support them. Please speak up for them. Please make them comfortable, make them feel that, they are not alone. This is a path where we've all been in, and this was the way out if you have the solution. But if not, please direct them how they can also seek for help. You've experienced the truth of this statement many times about confidence. But isn't confidence something you either have or don't? Something you are either born with or not? Can you deliberately become confident? This is a question that a lot of people will be asking, or you'll be asking yourself. I'm confident, and I know very well that you can. Anyone can be confident. You have to build your own confidence. You have to have the courage to do what you want to do in life as a Black person, no matter where you are. Sometimes people will say it is challenging. Sometimes people will say, I don't think I am fitting in. What is the criteria for fitting in? Where do the confidence come from? Where do it have to come from? Do you believe in yourself? If you believe that you can do it, you can definitely do it. I do a lot of motivational videos on the content, and the contents are mainly about how to become successful. I've been out there to interview a few Africans in the diaspora, their success story, and also to show the other side of what we are doing. I feel confident that anything that they've set their mind in, or the people that I spoke to, they can do whatever they've chosen and they can strive in it. if you choose to become a YouTuber, for example, you have to build the confidence to come behind the camera and speak, if that's what your specialism is. If you choose to be a YouTuber to do some cooking, and also you also have to build the confidence to explain what you're putting or what ingredients you're using in your cooking so that people may understand what you are doing. Or maybe the confidence to come on the camera, even if you're just demonstrating without talking, so that you can also pass the message, even if it's not verbally, which we understand some people might not be able to speak. Everyone have the inner confidence. It's just about coming out that matter. As I said, please use the Black History Month. It's every October here in the UK, celebrated in the US, Canada, and the rest in February. Use this month to build and or work on your confidence. This is something that many Black people have had in the past, and it has helped them to build the confidence to go out to the streets, to protest, to talk about Black Lives Matter. We've seen across the years how there's institutional shift. This shift is only coming because we are now having the confidence to speak out. If you do not speak out, then we will all remain in mental slavery. There are a lot of things that we can discuss about self-confidence, but let's continue moving on as well. So, guys, um, I've talked about our mental awareness, confidence, and this time around, I want us to look at mental health. So, from awareness, we're now talking about the mental health on its own. The reason I said before I'm going to talk about other mental health issues was because we have lot and lot of that's Brendan Ash. Thanks for sharing. Thank you very much. Brenda, that's my wife. And I must say a big shout out for you for always supporting me, for always making sure that you watch all my videos, actually. And thank you very much. I really appreciate. Um, I know you're watching next door, but thank you. I think I'll soon bring you on the camera so people will know exactly that you are my backbone and part of my editing team. Thank you, Brenda. To carry on, before I get carried away with my appreciation, I was going to start talking about mental health in the Black community. There are a lot of mental health problems in our community, and this is something that we must look into, and is something that we must also address. Lots of people have mental health problems, but the prevalence of mental health in the Black community, I wouldn't say it's high, but what the problem is the fact that we do not ask for help. Most people in the Black community do not ask for help with their mental health problems. So this is also becoming a problem on its own. When I talk of mental health, what am I referring to, or what sort of conditions are we referring to in essence? There are lots of mental health problems that we are going to look into and or we can talk about. The different types of mental health problems that exist, maybe part of this world or part of this continent, and or maybe within the African continent, but I talk most especially within the diaspora here where we experience is it's there are mainly mood disorder, depression, bipolar, anxiety, personality disorder. We talk about some psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia. People talk about eating disorder, trauma-related disorders, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, and we talk about substance abuses disorder, and or maybe what we refer to as drug diagnosis, which is someone suffering from a mental health, and or the mental health is being induced by drugs. So it's drug-induced psychosis. All these mental health problems that are existing are very, very, very peculiar to everyone. Everyone can relate exactly to these problems. As statistics have said, the statistics have said about 1 in 10 person would experience some form of mental health at some point in their life. So before we start talking about the different mental healths, let's first of all recognize that stress, either from home or at work, is not worth it. If you feel stress about a particular situation, please talk about it, discuss it, and make sure that you probably iron it out before going to bed. Because people tend to then have nightmares about their stresses or the stressors. And these are things that then build up to become a major problem in the future. I have said time without number that lots of people around the world struggle with different form of illnesses, but mental health condition can actually hold you back from progressing. As I said before, my videos are mainly about motivation and trying to encourage the young, both here in the diaspora and back home in the motherland, to build personal and financial growth. But none of this can be achieved if you do not have a good mental health. This is why we are talking about the Black History Month and trying to celebrate the Black History Month and Blackness within our community. This is something that is very personal to me, is personal to everyone within this community, and is something that if we come together as a community, we can build a better tomorrow for our families, especially in the diaspora. I remember when we left, when I left Cameroon and traveled out to the UK, I didn't know about black or white. I didn't know there was a difference between being black and someone being white, because we grew up in a black community where we saw white as visitors as opposed to living with white and working with them. So there's this cultural difference of trying to fit in. Just trying to fit in can become a stressor on its own, because the things that you are doing are numb to you, but are they numb to the people that you are working with? The answer might be no, but it doesn't mean that you are wrong. Always remember what I said about self-confidence. Be confident that what you know is either your culture related, especially when it comes to your tradition, your food, your dressing. Be confident that you can put your chest up, look at someone in the eyes and say, this is my culture, I am going to respect it because this is what I know. as much as it doesn't infringes in anyone's rights. I must say so too. Trying to fit into a team might be very difficult and can cause some sort of stresses, anxiety, depression, and other mental health illnesses we're going to list or talk about. But the theme of today, as I said, for anyone who is joining again, is it's Black History Month under the theme Wellness and Mental Health. The list of mental disorder goes on and on and on. But what we have to recognize and talk about here is how to get help. After talking about the conditions, how do we then get help? Right. So the first and most common mental health disorder that people might have are things like as simple as anxiety disorder. Anxiety, yes, we all face anxiety. I remember when we were traveling abroad, the first thing that we do when we get to the airport is we start crying. We are not crying only because we're going to miss our family, but we are now anxious. We are now entering the plane for the first time. We are heading to a journey of the unknown. What are the expectation? Is it warm? Is it cold? What's this place like? You've heard of it, people have talked about it, but the anxiety now is there. Where are you going? This is what many people want to know. Where are you going? Where am I going? Is this something that is going to work out? How do I feel about this? So people add all this together and they become very, 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 very extremely anxious about it. Anxiety is something that someone can easily suffer from a very in a very, very common way. Someone can suffer from uh, very, very easily. I meant to say. Sorry about that. I was trying to uh, direct this on, and it's not coming on. But that's fine. So that's what the anxiety is probably the anxiety. Those are the kind of anxiety that most people will have. So we have this associative disorder. So this associative is associate in context explain what sort of a disorder. We just talk about the mood disorder. People can talk about depression in their own community or depressive disorders. We talk about bipolar disorders. Um, Bipolar disorder could relate to someone being either high or they'll be very low, or it also relates to mood swing, and that's those are the kind of struggles that people will go through if they're suffering from bipolar. We talk about trauma and stress related disorder. Lots of people go through trauma. It could be the trauma of losing a loved one. It could be a trauma of being involved in an accident. It could be a trauma of someone being in a position where they've then found themselves. So trauma is something that we must remain very mindful of within our community. It's something that most people don't talk about, but it really breaks them. So when you talk about blackness, you must also think about trauma. The trauma, I'm not going to refer to our childhood as traumatic, but what I will say is if you look at the experience that your own children are living now compared to the ones where we probably walk barefooted from north to south, or attending schools from east to west, or traveling 10 or 50 10 to 15 miles or kilometers, whichever way you're working it out, a day to get to school and then back, maybe barefooted, you realize that that was very traumatic. And some people are still experiencing this. If you come from a community where you definitely experience this yourself and you're in a better position today, please always go. I've done a video before on how to give back to your community. Check it out and try to relate to what happened in the roots and then go back to give to those who are still struggling. Even if you just help a single child, it makes so much of a difference. It makes a lot of difference. People will also have some neurodevelopmental disorders, and so we talk, as I just discussed before, the things that will fall under anxiety, which I did say, separation, specific phobia, social, people having panic attacks and things like that. And so we talk about this association. So we talk about people trying to identify themselves to things. We did talk about, I also mentioned mood disorder, or the mood disorder, disruptive mood disorders, and we talk about major depressions, and we talk about premenstrual dysphoric disorders and things like that, or psychotic depression, and also fall under the mood disorder or, the depressions. And for the bipolar, the different types as well, as I've mentioned already, would be type 1 disorder, 2, or disorder not otherwise specified. And trauma and the stress, which I did say, could be reactive attachment disorder, disinhibited social engagement disorder, post-traumatic stress, which is what I elaborated on, acute stress disorder, some adjustments, complex post-traumatic stress disorders, and prolonged grief disorder. Prolonged grief is something that we also have to be very mindful of within our own Black community. We have people that their family were rooted from Africa, they were taken into slavery, they were taken into, so there's something that people are trying to find their roots. When you're celebrating the Black History Month, think of the fact that there is a massive prolonged grief in our continent. There is a massive prolonged grief in our continent because we are still grieving the loss of our loved ones who were taken into slavery, which particular today, the generation do not know exactly where they came from. So the thought of not even knowing your roots will continue to bring you prolonged grief. I've seen some shows about the year of return from one of Wodemeyer video. I've done a video on who Wodemeyer is, if you can also check it out. And they were very interesting that I saw this African-American Black woman who was in tears for touching the motherland for the first time. And the first thing she said was, "We have been deceived." When she arrived, she was surprised that there was a runway, there was an airport, the roads were tarred, there was a hotel, there were cars. So Black History Month is an opportunity to also educate your own colleagues. Talk about Blackness, talk about the beauty, talk about our beauty, talk about our culture, talk about our surrounding, our serenity, talk about anything that you feel make us Black. Our hair, probably I should not be the best one to talk about hair because I haven't got any hair here, but our women have one of the most beautiful short-cut hairs that you can just trim nicely and they're all good to go. Probably have some very short, yep, that's all I have, and I must say this is all I have. But we talk about anything beautiful of being black, we talk about the melanin that we have, we talk about our sun, we talk about the rain, we talk about the savannah, we talk about the sea, we talk about everything that is beautiful, we talk about the animals that we have, anything that is beautiful about Africa or blackness, we can talk about that. And for those who are here in the diaspora, we can talk about the culture that we have inherited, the ones that we feel are beneficial for us, and the ones we think we are keeping. So these are things that we can talk about at work during the Black History Month. And this would go a long way to relieve our stresses and trauma, and also to relieve our grief. The worst thing that can happen to anyone living here in the diaspora is losing a parent and not being able to come home to bury them. May the soul of all who passed during the COVID rest in peace, and for anyone who lost their family or a loved one during that period and they were not able to travel to kind of bring that kind of a closure. I sympathize with you because I know what it means to lose a loved one. And so I did mention briefly about neuro development disorders. So it could either be intellectual disability, it could be a language problem, speech, someone stuttering, social communication, disorder. Interestingly, when you talk about neurodevelopmental disorder, talk about social communication disorder. This is something that most people probably have, but I've already touched this on our confidence. Building a stronger confidence takes us a very, very long way in achieving all that we've ever wished and or aimed for. So we could talk about dyslexia under the neurodevelopmental disorders, a lot of different conditions that people will probably suffer from that fall under that category. So sleepwalking is also a disorder. People suffer from insomnia, and chronic insomnia is very dangerous for many people. We talk about hypersomnia, we talk about insufficient sleep syndrome, narcolepsy, sleep apnea. So these are things that a lot of people really struggle with, and it impacts their mental health. So another interesting one is things like parasomnia. Parasomnia is mainly things like nightmares, having rapid eye movement, or sleep behavioral disorder, confusional or arousals, sleepwalking as well, and or maybe sleep related eating disorder or things like that. That's something that will happen. Someone is sleeping and probably eating. So these are the kind of problems that most people would face within the communities. We did talk about substance-related and addictive disorders. So we talk about substance-induced or substance-induced psychosis, substance-induced delirium, substance-induced mood disorders, substance intoxication, substance withdrawal, substance dependence, and some other disorders due to alcohol, or maybe alcohol hallucinations, or talk about the withdrawals, harmful patterns of use of alcohol. And these things are very deadly and dangerous to anyone's health. I'll advise that if you have an alcohol problem, please start by cutting a glass every day, cut a glass every other day, and do not drink if it is not necessary. You can drink socially, yes, but if you think that is becoming a problem, please ask for help. I will go to, as I said before, I'm going to discuss about Black community and asking for help, whether or not we really ask for help, or are there other issues that are holding us back from asking for help. So people take things like there are lots of narcotic drugs today. We talk about cannabis. There are a lot of different other things like opioid-based medication or disorders due to use of opioids. And so it could be because of the harmful patterns of use, that they're depending on it, going intoxicated on it. You could have problems from withdrawing from them. Opioid induced deliriums are very also dangerous, and induce psychotic disorders as well from taking drugs, these opioid drugs, and induce mood disorders. And the drugs that the opioid base we're referring to here are mostly the morphine drugs, and morphine, oxycodone. We talk about methadone, buprenorphine, and the list, tramadols, and the rest, and the list go on. So we could also suffer from some this sedative disorders. People take medication to help them, but at times the medication can also sedate you. That's another thing that we have to look at. Disorder due to probably cocaine, and so the reasons for uh, feeling that way will probably be related to exactly what we explained with the opioids, the people taking amphetamines, synthetic cannabis, people taking even caffeine or has some hallucinogens, and people taking nicotine, or just smoking, or depending on it is also a problem. Um, and other disorders which are associated to drug includes ketamines. Ketamines is also another thing that people get addicted to, and this causes them a lot of health problems. So the non-substance related disorders. This is something that is very common within the Black community, both in uh, Africa and here in the diaspora. If we have lots and lots of people who gamble, so gambling is a disorder. It's something that we must also think about. So the non-substance related disorders, things like gambling, video games addiction, internet addiction disorder, sexual addiction, or food addiction, addiction to social media, or people go watching inappropriate contents, um, uh, or adult movies and things like that can become an addiction. Or shopping addiction is another thing that a lot of people will buy things that they don't need, and within our community it is a very big problem because we are already working on a stringent budget. We have a bigger size family. We're supporting ourselves here in the diaspora. We're supporting the people back at home. And the last thing you want to do is to get yourself on a shopping spree to buy things that you probably do not need. So I'm very mindful of time, guys. So I'm going to say briefly that if you've not subscribed to this channel already, please subscribe, press the subscribe button, press the notification button so you always get more, and also share so that we can all educate one another. The last thing that we are going to touch on before we go now is barriers to accessing mental health. Right. This is a very big issue that we face as a community. There are different barriers that we all face when it comes to accessing care. In different country, it might just be the fact that people could not afford. In other countries, like probably America, people may not have the insurance. In some other country, is because the facilities are not there in the first place. But when I say facilities are not there in the first place, as they always say, where there's a problem, that's where the opportunities also are. So always listen to the problems, and then you can tap into those problems and solve them. They become a massive opportunity to you. So I was going to touch on the barriers to accessing mental health services. Barriers are stopping minority groups accessing mental health services. Members of Black and minority ethnic groups face barriers to mental health services because of one, communication breakdown between healthcare users and the providers, and two, cultural factors such as inability to accept mental health problems and free the stigma which is associated to it. As I said, communication breakdown between the individuals and the health providers. I've talked about the cultural differences, and three, I did talk about stigma. These are problems that they've gone a long way to destroy Blackness. I'm not saying that we should forgo our culture, we should forgo our way of life, but we also have to be very confident to overcome stigma. Someone will choose not to ask for help to support their child or themselves only because of the stigma that this will be associated with in their community. If you are struggling with mental health problems, please ask for help. There are quite different ways that culture really impact mental health. So when we talk about this, what comes in mind? What comes to mind? We all immediately think of what's right in front of us. The unique language, the different clothing, our diverse food. But a society culture also impact a person's belief, norms, and their own values. It impacts how we view certain things, ideas, how we behave. And in the case of mental health, it can impact whether or not you seek help. What type of help are we talking about here? What support is around you? These are things that questions you have to start asking yourself. What help are we talking about? What support is around you that you can look for if you think you're struggling with mental health problem or have a family member who is struggling with mental health problem? A lot of researchers and publications have actually shown that minorities in most countries are less likely, or Black people or people from the ethnic minority group from most countries are less likely to get mental health treatment, or will wait until symptoms will severe, or they will wait until their symptoms are really severe before they start asking for help. Not more than 50 to 60% of minority adults have regular care, or maybe ask for help for anything within the Black community. When someone is sick, the first thing they're thinking about is, oh, tomorrow I will be going to work. Tomorrow I might need money to send my mom to hospital, so I cannot be sick. Some people start thinking about the stigma, which we've mentioned. What will people say now? What family am I coming from? Family with people with mental health problems, and they will use some derogatory words to describe the condition, and then this would deter them to ask for help. I think we have come a long way. We have had a lot of people from the Black communities in the diaspora who do not even know their roots, who they've stood up for others, which they've stand up with their chests high up, and they've gone through different struggles, different uh, cultural challenges, but they've continued to break that stigma and ask for help. So if you don't feel confident in asking for help, please start feeling confident today to ask for help, because this might be a very minor issue, which is just therapy can help you, or maybe someone just saying, or probably giving you just a medication for a short time would help you, but it becomes accumulative and becomes a very major problem that you will not be able to solve in the future. There are mainly four ways that culture can impact mental health. So the first thing is the cultural stigma. Every culture has a different way of looking at mental health. Um, for many, there is a growing stigma around mental health, and mental health challenges um, are considered a weakness and something to hide. This can make it harder for those struggling to talk openly and ask for help. So, this is the cultural stigma is a very big thing. People hide their symptoms. They are struggling to cope, but they cannot talk about it. This is a problem that most Black community faces. The second thing is understanding the symptoms to start with. Culture can influence how people describe and feel, which is a very normal thing, and or about they feel about their symptoms, or the symptoms, or whatever they're experiencing at the time. It can affect whether someone chooses to recognize and talk about only the physical symptoms or the emotional symptoms, or they can even talk about both, as if they have the courage to even speak. They can mask some of the symptoms and just talk about some. Be open about how you feel and what sort of symptoms that you are experiencing if you think that you are struggling with mental health problems. By talking about it, that's the first step towards getting help. Community support is the third impact. Cultural factors can determine how much support someone gets from their family and community when it comes to mental health. Because of existing stigma, minorities are sometimes left to find mental treatment and support alone. So these are things that um, people will not support you. People will say, well, just man up. What are you doing? People will not even recognize the symptoms. You are struggling and you're trying to express your symptoms in the best polite way ever for a family not to think that this is the actual problem you are getting. But that's where the problem is, because you will never get help if you are hiding these symptoms, as I've said. So the community support is also a difficult one, because you can't even express yourself freely in the community or tell the family exactly what you are going through. So for resources, when looking for mental health treatment, you want to talk to someone who understands your specific experiences and concerns. It can sometimes be difficult or time consuming to find resources and treatment options. That takes into account specific cultures, factors, and needs. So this is where the problem also is. The resources might not be there. You might not be able to find something that actually fit into your own culture. So someone will say, I'm suffering from mental health problem, and the only thing I believe can work is if I cook this particular leaves which has been cooked by our foreparents, and this is going to be the solution. It might work if that's what you believe is going to make it work, but these resources are not there, and so the problem would only exacerbate. That's where the problem is. So these are only few ways that culture can impact uh, perceptions and treatment of mental health. So every culture and person is different and face a unique journey to recovery. So this is something that we always remember. You should always remember everyone is different, everyone is unique. Their journey to recovery will also be very different and unique to their own needs. So we can help address mental health in ethnic minorities by understanding the role that culture plays in mental health, and by becoming trained to help those around us. So understanding the role, training ourselves would actually enable us to then help our own family and friends. Again, let's not forget we are celebrating Black History Month under the theme awareness and mental health. Whatever skill that you have out there, please use them to support one another. And this is what is going to help us all, and this is what is going to go a long way to find a better solution to every problem that we have here in the diaspora. Once more, thank you very much all for staying with me, and for those who've chipped in and contributed. Thank you. I really appreciate. We're celebrating Black History Month, appreciating uh, Black and striving families here in the diaspora. I'm just trying to recap everyone who have a family here in the diaspora and working hard to get to work in, out, and also supporting their family back at home. Again, I say my biggest respect goes to you all. We've discussed about mental awareness, and we've also discussed some symptoms and what sort of support you can get, or maybe things that you can do to improve your mental awareness. We've discussed about building confidence today, and we've touched a lot on how to become self-confident and how self-confidence makes you strive both in the workplace and in the society and within your community at large. We've also discussed about the different types of mental health that people would go through, not living out schizophrenia, which is the last one I didn't touch. But you can also, because of time, you can also check out what schizophrenia is and how it affects someone. And these are the most common mental health problems that we probably have back at home. But as I've touched before, it might also be the situation that the institutions are not there to support people. We've talked about the barrier to accessing mental health. So there are lots of different barriers that we've also touched on, especially cultural stigma and the resources. So these are things that they are not, there becomes a barrier to us in the Black community from accessing mental health services, and that big denial and not being able to accept the fact that or see mental health as a problem, and or maybe masking our symptoms so people don't stigmatize us. I did say within Africa, some countries are doing great, some are behind, they are catching up. But in the Cameroon, particularly where I come from, I would say mental health is a very big thing. People go about with their day-to-day life. You could see someone maybe self-harming, people walking up and down the streets, they're struggling with a mental condition, and there's no one to help them. I'm not saying that it is an avenue for us to then take them, as I've seen before previously. People were chained, they were being moved in the street, they forced them into begging and things like that. No, what we're trying to say is we can start by building a small mental health unit in the country, being it by private sector or being it by the government. I think this will be welcome and embraced by the population, and it becomes a pathway where people can be referred to treat their own mental health concerns. I remember I did an internship during my study, or an attachment placement, or what we refer to as the elective placement, for a month in Cameroon, when I was still in university, and I decided to visit a mental health a facility, but there was none in the region, and I had to go to a kind of a native doctor who treats people with mental health, but luckily has sent his son to university, and the son now is now adding modern medicine to what they were doing. It was very interesting. You know, I spoke to some of the patients, I understood their journey. It was great and beautiful, what they were doing to see their recovery. But it is a there's a massive gap in that market in Cameroon. It's something that anyone can look at, and also in other African countries. But we are not here to talk about business. We're here to celebrate Black History Month. My respect go out to Barack Obama. My respect goes out to all the Black in the West who have done successful and incredible things, and they remain role models to all. My success go out to Martin Luther King. My respect go out to Nelson Mandela. My respect go out to all the great leaders who have gone to the world stage and speak about Blackness and how great it is to be Black, and how great it is to be a good leader being Black, and how great it is that Black also belong to the same society, and they can be equal, and that they can do everything that every individual can also do. So this is not a day of talking about race discrimination, or talking about a Black being better than a white, or white being better than a Black. We're celebrating and recognizing all the Black within our community who have done great things to get us to where we are today. And we must say, may the souls of all who've lost their souls in the struggles of revolution rest in perfect peace, because they will remain our ancestral history. It's about time where the Blacks can write their own history, the Black can start documenting their own history, and the Blacks can start standing up and supporting one another, the Ubuntu spirit, to get us to our destination. Thank you guys very much for watching. I remain your humble boy, Terry Forge from the Roots. Please like, share, subscribe, and press the notification button so you will see all my future upcoming videos. And I will see you again in the next one. And goodbye.